Okay, so for the best way to farm Duke, obviously you're just gonna need to make a build dedicated for farming Duke and just farming Duke. So I'll just lay out a few like essential things that you need in order to farm Duke. You want to go 100 heavy weapon. I mean, heavy weapon is just the best way to farm Duke. It kills him the fastest, and I wouldn't pick anything other than heavy weapon, but if you have a preferred way, feel free. But there is a cheese method that I'll show later in the video with heavy weapon that is still not patched and I've been using for literally months. So for essential talents that you would like to get, I'd say that In Twain is probably the most important talent for farming Duke on any Duke farm build. It's the talent that kills any low level enemy from you just hitting it without needing you to actually do the whole grip animation. And that's extremely important for the first area of the manor with all those little mud skipper NPCs that would take around like a minute to grip like every single one of them. And with In Twain, you don't need to do that, and that just saves you a ton of time. But yeah, aside from In Twain, I don't really think there's any necessary talents, and you can do any sort of build you want, just as long as you have 100 heavy weapon. If you're not doing heavy weapon, anything that has an instant guard break, crit. So now that the build is out of the way, I'll go into the actual farming process of Duke. In this weekly update, the Duke fight got an update. Well, not the fight, the dungeon. The manor got changed into a dungeon, so basically what that means is you don't have to server hop for however long it takes to find a server that has Duke, because as soon as somebody gets into the dungeon, the cooldown is reset on server, so you can farm Duke basically in any server. It makes this probably the best time to go and farm enchants. I don't think there's ever been a better time. Once you get in, you just want to clear out all the enemies. It's pretty basic. If you have In Twain, then this is a very simple process, but if you don't, then you're just gonna have to spend some time gripping all those enemies. And once you get to the elevator after you killed everything, it teleports you to a dungeon server. I did not know that was gonna happen going into this, so you get your own private server, and yeah, it helps reduce like any lag in the fight, and it makes it just a whole lot better. But yeah, once you get into the next area, if you're a high enough power, you can just run in and M1 and both the golems will die. But if you're not power 60 or just don't have enough damage to kill them both without dying, you can kite one of the golems over to you and kill one of them and then just run in and kill the other one. Pretty simple stuff if you ever farmed Duke before. But yeah, kill those golems however you see fit. And once you kill those golems before the update, you could just run and go fight Duke. But now there's 2 extra golems and brain suckers before you can do that. So those ones aren't together, you can fight them separately, but do keep in mind that there are 2 golems that you have to fight before you can fight the Duke. On to the fight. His first phase, I'd say, is definitely the hardest part of the fight, even though it's not really that difficult once you figure out how to do it. When you start the fight, do not hit him like I do, because if he does the ground stomp attack, then you just take damage. Just wait after you start the fight and see what attack he does, and parry it. For this part of the fight where he strong lefts and then just M1s after everything, what you want to make sure you do is parry the strong left, and then afterwards, you can just M1 every time you parry one of his attacks, if you have a heavy weapon. Just M1 after you parry anything. After he parries your attack with his auto parry shield, press F. It's really just that simple. You can see in the footage, like literally all you have to do is just go off sound cues and this fight just becomes super easy. Another thing that is important to have for this fight is when he goes up into the air and does that little aerial attack where it's really annoying to parry or dodge. If you have safety dance, that attack is really just free. You can just roll when he gets to the top of like his little levitation and you'll dodge it every time if you have safety dance, but if you don't, you have to be a little more careful with that. Yeah, first phase, not really that difficult if you get lucky with his attack patterns. Everything is basically just reaction time and parrying everything. Once you get him out of his first phase, this is where the cheese method comes in. All you have to do is get him against a wall from a strong left, or just having him hold S into a wall. And what you want to do is use your critical attack. If you're using a heavy weapon, make sure you're using a club or an axe. I'd really just recommend a club. Those have the instant posture break. I know the axes do too, but the clubs or hammers are much better for this. And once you use your special, it will guard break him. After that, what you want to do is immediately M1 after your critical, and then after you hit him, you want to feint, and then just spam R for your critical. You can just do that over and over with a heavy weapon. Once you do that, he gets stuck in an infinite loop of getting posture broken over and over again, and the fight is basically just free. Another thing you can do is, if you have enough posture damage, you can literally just M1 the entire fight. I do this with Ardor and a Petra's Anchor with the stone enchant, and I can just M1 every single time and it'll posture break him. I think the best way to do that would be to use a greatsword with all the greatsword talents. I think the best weapon for that is the Crazy Slots greatsword. That does a shit ton of posture damage, and if you see anybody with a Duke farming build using a greatsword, they're most likely using the Crazy Slots greatsword or an Enforcer's Blade. So if you don't have Crazy Slots, then use an Enforcer's Blade. If you don't have access to either of those, then just use a hammer. But yeah, that's really all there is to farming Duke now. Doesn't take very long, and the loot is good for the amount of time that you spend doing this. I only did this once for the video, and I got a 5% monster damage Akira's ring, so I mean, that's extremely good for a Hell mode build. But yeah, I think Duke is definitely the best way to farm enchants now. I'd say it's probably better than like Primadon, Hell mode, anything. I prefer Duke over all of those because of the safety you get, especially after the update, and how fast you can do it. For people just starting the game, you can literally do this on the first slot you ever make. Like, that's what I'd say elevates this farm method above anything else, is that you can literally do this on a fresh account that has never played the game before. It's literally that easy. That's really all there is to farming Duke. Definitely the best way to farm enchants and just farm in general. If you haven't ever gotten a bell before, this is the best way to do it. If you're power 60, it only takes like 2 or 3 Duke grips and you can get your bell. Again, that's really all there is to it. This video helped you out. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, anything. It all helps. I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers for the content creator role, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.